When you look around a room, the physical objects you see feel distinct from the daydreams playing in your head. Experiencing objective reality and imagining a fabricated one feel like entirely separate biological processes. But they aren't. Your brain does not have a separate processing center dedicated to imagination. There is no isolated hard drive where fictional thoughts are safely contained. Clinical functional MRI scans prove this. When medical researchers track the blood flow in patients' brains, they see the exact same visual cortex lighting up to observe the physical world as the one used to picture a completely fabricated scenario. Because the biological hardware is identical, your brain physically processes a passing daydream using the exact same machinery it relies on for objective survival. If the hardware is shared, why aren't we walking around constantly hallucinating our own imaginations? Why does a real coffee cup feel solid, while an imaginary one feels like a ghost? This data visualization illustrates a biological defense mechanism known as the reality threshold. The horizontal line represents the barrier to belief. The brain constantly grades the vividness and predictive weight of incoming signals. The weak pulses below the line are your daydreams, categorized as fake. But there's a vulnerability. If a fabricated signal becomes vivid enough, carrying enough emotional weight, it spikes violently across that threshold. Your brain then stops treating it as fiction, accepting it as objective truth. Reality, then, is not an objective, solid fact. It is merely a biological verdict your brain reaches, and verdicts can be manipulated. For centuries, storytellers have intuitively exploited this neurological loophole. Psychologists call the process narrative transportation. When you absorb a compelling story, your default mode network, the region of the brain responsible for memory, self-reflection, and creativity, is hijacked and activated. You are forced into a state of theory of mind. You begin simulating the motives and actions of completely fictional characters, utilizing the exact same cognitive processes you use to navigate real-world social interactions and survive in human society. Beyond the individual mind, these simulations physically sync the emotional responses of large theater crowds to fabricated events on a mass scale. A story functions as a biological code, specifically designed to input a fabricated reality directly into your nervous system. Science fiction author Philip K. Dick engineered simulated worlds specifically designed to bypass his readers' cognitive defenses. His specific brand of psychological manipulation has dominated modern cinematic storytelling, serving as the foundation for massive pop culture adaptations that force audiences to question the nature of their own existence. Dick's primary technique was insidious. He would build a world that was 99. Dick's narrative blurriness forces his readers into this exact biological response, creating real anxiety and fear over completely fake stimuli. Weaponizing these evolutionary alarms pushed Dick's fiction across the reality threshold, positioning the author as a mediator who shaped his readers' understanding of the world around them. So, what happens to the brain when the book is finally closed or the movie theater goes dark? The immediate narrative simulation stops, but the aesthetic emotions it generated do not vanish. They remain physically encoded within your neural pathways. This residual emotional data permanently alters the individual. Practicing empathy within a simulation hones those exact networks for real life, subtly shifting the cognitive framework you use to judge the physical world. Modern neuroscience aligns with Dick's core philosophy. Reality is a construct of our neurons, and those neurons are susceptible to the narratives we consume. This cognitive vulnerability is entirely exposed in our current media-saturated era. We are constantly bombarded by alternative histories, algorithmic feeds, and increasingly vivid digital simulations that test our neurobiology every second of the day, placing us directly in the world of pure simulacra, warned about by philosophers like Jean Baudrillard. The line between imagination and reality is no longer a solid wall. It is a highly fragile, shifting threshold, dependent entirely on our expectations and the vividness of the signals we consume. If your brain cannot biologically tell the difference between a vivid fiction and an objective truth, who is the narrator currently writing your reality?